Hi and welcome back. First we're going to start drawing off the HUD elements, starting with the crosshair, so we can actually see what we're pointing at. To do this, we will need to go into our HUD, and we'll need this first. This just determines our screen size. It's a vector 2D, and you should be able to just create it after making our variable. A variable resolution, here we go, screen dimension. It's a vector 2D, and we can just leave them for now, and then you drag off it vector 2D we want to make, and then we just hook them up here. And then once we have that sorted out, we can actually start to begin drawing our crosshair. So when the HUD gets drawn, we get our screen dimensions, and then we want to get a draw texture 2D, and then get our screen dimension variable, and then we want to break so we get its, and what this is doing is it's getting our screen, and then we're dividing it so it's from where my mouse is, usually like cross, and this bit of math just gets the texture size, and then you half it so it'll center it. Otherwise you'll end up something that isn't really centered. So the texture, I'm just using a normal thing which you can find in the content browser. So minimize that. Now as we can see, it's a 256 texture, but here the screen size is 30, so it won't be as big. Now if we compile and play, I notice there's a crosshair now, but it isn't quite centered. So basically you want to half the size of what's in here, and you might want to change the blend mode as well. If we have an opaque one, you see we don't get all that nice little alpha goodness. It's just so masked. Right. Now we can start drawing on our mini-map once you've had a good look at this. Right. Our mini-map is a texture, but it's a certain kind of texture. What happens is we get a camera, which I'll show you now, from our character blueprint, and we go into components. Here's our guy who does all sorts of stuff, but this is where the mini map magic happens. It's basically another component. You just add it, place it where you want, and then you attach a scene capture 2D component to it. And for its texture, we need to create one. So in our textures, here we go, our mini map, that adapts to our camera all the time, so it'll never look the same. But to make it, we go materials, textures, and render target. Just name it mini map or whatever. Yep. And then just attach it here. Compile and save that. And then back into our HUD, we want to get the texture here. So there's our mini map, we add it. Now we just need to place it on our screen. It isn't going to do any fancy yet because it's just basic and still being worked on. But this is how you can get a quick simple mini map working. So once you've hooked that up and gotten its screen dimensions, I wouldn't suggest anything more than 256 for the size of the texture, because it could draw a lot of stuff depending on how detailed your game is. So if we compile that, we now have a mini map in the bottom right corner. There are a few problems with this though. We can't zoom in or out on it because it's just a texture. The camera still follows your character, so it's not locked in place, which is something we can work on later. And as you can see, even if we rotate the mouse, it doesn't really look anywhere. We could probably add some field of view triangle on it later somehow, but I've yet to work all that out. Now we can get to the more fun bits. We can start adding the hit point bars and God knows what else. So first we're going to create a material interface, right? So to do this, yeah, here we go. We need to get a few textures, or a texture, and it'll be something like this. It might not look too much now, but when you see each channel, this one isn't used as far as I know, or the alpha, but the green, this is the actual hit bar, the texture that goes on top, and this is the empty hit bar. You can get these assets from the blueprint HUD, yeah, from the content examples. So if you have that, I suggest looking at them. And our material, now this is where a lot of the magic happens. We need to set these names because this is what our HUD will look up when it changes the health bar lengths and stuff. And then we just reference the texture we just looked at, and the coords are just 1, 1. A base bar and background color we want to set into parameters so we can create material instances and use them for all different bars. Yeah. And then our HUD, it's a translucent blend mode and unlit. You'll probably right. So we exit that. We'll need to create material instance of a health one, which I've set to red. The background color is 0.2 for this, and the bar color is 0.5. And as you can see here, current bar and max bar. A max bar can be any amount you want really. Seeing this is like our extended health, and this is our current health. So even if our max health is 100%, and then boom, dead. That's basically how this texture works. We do the same for the health, the magic bar, sorry, and the stamina bar, or fatigue, and just change the colors. And then for the agility bars and endurance one that we had to create a new one, otherwise it'll reference the same texture, and then just change its color. There we go. Now that we've got them drawn, or created, sorry, we need to create material node and texture. Yeah, we've clicked that, creating the health bar. Right. Yes, we need to HUD. There we go. Blueprint. We need to look at an interface, and we need to create a new function and set a current health and a max health value. Do the same for magic and stamina. These two down here we'll get to a bit later, but for now, the basics, we just need this. Actually, the health, current health, and max health, and it's just the same for them, all floats as well, and stamina. Now that we got a material interface, we need to go to our character and actually add it here, and on our HUD we need to add it here as well. So now we can start drawing the actual health bar. First, this will look a bit what's going on, but what we need to do is get a player pawn and then get the character health interface, and there's a few get character functions because the engine's weird like that. The interface message and not the call one, so we get our health. Just plug it in, and then from here we get our get player pawn. Now we need to get a set scalar parameter value. What this does is it looks at the material that you've assigned to it, and then it looks for a parameter and then make sure it's exactly the same. So our max bar materials, there we go, is here. So it's calling this, and then it will do all this little mathy stuff, and based on what outputs it will put to the screen. HUD bar. Right. So then we get the max value, and then we'll plug it into there. We will then do the same again, and we'll add the current value to there. And then we need to draw the actual material itself, because this just gets the the functions or whatever, the math, and then you draw it. And once you've got the material, we need to actually set our health bar. So in the construction script, we need to set it here, and then we get our health bar from the material instance, and then we set it. The actual variable, we need to actually get a material instance dynamic, and then compile, and now you can set a texture here or not, but we actually set it here. And if you feel a bit more adventurous, you can just copy it a few times from magic bar and stamina bar and endurance or whatever, because they are basically just clones. Now once we've actually drawn it to our screen, which should look something like this, we have a health bar. It'll just be a blank dark red thing because my health is set to regenerate and yours isn't. So now we can draw a text on it, and what this text will be is our current and max values. So we need to get them somehow, and to get them we need to come back to here, and we need to set it to a floor, otherwise you'll get all the point zeros and stuff and it'll just look not okay. And then, so what this is saying is HP current value append to this, and then set our max value and compile. And there we have it. We have 20 health out of 40 maximum. So now you've got the current values set to from your character. Basically for the magic and the stamina it's exactly the same, except you need to get a character magic value, set the magic bar texture, and then you just plug them in, and then you might want to change what it says down here, maybe the text if you feel different. Same with stamina. For now we'll just look at that. Right. Actually, yes, we go. Right. Now the character blueprint. Now to actually get the health from the character, we need to go into the blueprint, and then we need to get the interface function and create our variables max health at float and whatever number we decide, and then a current one, and then we just plug it in. And this has set our character health, so it'll show up on the screen. The health itself doesn't really do anything at the moment, because we haven't really gave the health a meaning. It's just there. You do that for the stamina and the magic. Exactly the same, whatever numbers you feel like. Saving. So you'll have something like this: a health bar, a magic bar, and a stamina bar. When you compile it, why isn't that hooked up? Oh well. Because that wasn't it. Right. Little trial and errors. Right, there we go. So now, wasn't that pretty simple? A little bit confusing at first, but there we go. Now to actually get our health to regenerate, but first we'll show you the stamina system, because it's just sprint. That's the more complex one. Right. So go back to our character, and we've got all of this for our health and magic and stamina regeneration. But for our stamina generation, we want event tick, add a sequence, because that will do that other stuff a bit later. For now, ignore that. But if we have our basic character move and sprint, we ask if it's sprinting, and then we set true or false. So if we aren't sprinting, we move at a normal walk speed, 500, and then if we are, we move faster. And then to create our toggle or control to move, to determine sprint, say if we push down the A button or spacebar or shift, we will sprint here. This is set to shift, I think, yeah. So once we press down the shift button, we toggle, are we sprinting? Yes. If we're not sprinting. So now to determine how fast our stamina drains or regains based on if we're sprinting or not. So if we are sprinting, don't worry about this bit just yet. This will be -1 for now. If we are sprinting and we have velocity, that bit we'll get back to in a minute, we want to spend energy. So when the shift button is held down, our energy will drain. And because it's set to a tick, the game is constantly checking if we have this down. So we get our current stamina, take it down by 1. It's limited by a certain amount, so we can't go down past 0, and we can't regain more than max stamina. And this will change current stamina all the time. If we are moving normally, we want to regain our stamina, but slowly. So this does the exact same thing. Take that out, but it's a plus number, so we could have +2. And again, we've also changed the delay, so that will drain really fast, and this will just drain recover slowly. So ignore that bit as well for now. What this will do is we get our maximum stamina, and if we move it will drain, but we keep going the same speed as we were sprinting, and we don't want that abused, so that needs to be fixed. And even if I'm standing still and I have the sprint button down, my stamina is still draining, which it shouldn't be because I'm standing still. And then when I let go, it finally does it. I also, when I move, I'm still recovering at that speed, but when I'm standing still, I'm not really doing anything, so it should recover a bit faster. Now here's how we fix that. First we want to determine if we are moving. So we get a new function, and what this does is it gets the character movement component. Does the velocity, is it higher than 0, or does it equal 0? Sorry. If it does, we are basically standing still. Yeah, so is it moving? True. No, we're not. Is that more than our velocity? Yes, we are moving. So this little function here you could use for several things. Maybe you're in a stealth game and you have sound for when you move around, and if you're not moving, you don't set off all those events, and maybe that character that you're trying to hide from won't notice you because you're not. Or maybe you have to stop at a certain time to stop a trap from killing you, and because this checks whether you're moving or not, you can use it for a multitude of things. Right, so if we are moving, if we're not moving, we now regenerate our health here. It's basically the same thing copied over, so much faster. If we are moving, then we go, how fast are we moving? Are we moving normally or are we sprinting? And then it comes back into this. And now we fix when the sprint button is held down, do we keep draining? So this is where it gets a little bit, there is some looping going on, some hidden looping, and it'll get our current stamina and it'll check whether that value is higher or lower to something we've set here. Because when it's low, we then want to go back to normal walking speed. So we set our sprint speed, where we move faster, and we set it to a normal movement speed. And these, like stats here, we can use later for endurance, agility, or whatever. So once that's set, we can now run. Now we're like, oh, normal movement speed. We're standing still, so regenerate fast. We're moving, we regenerate slow. Now for the health regeneration, magic regeneration, health and magic hasn't really been implemented too much. I'll work on that when I can start actually damaging them. They're basically very similar to stamina regeneration, but just for health instead. And same with magic. And this is a thing which you can just copy from another what you call it, project. But it's basically when you receive damage, get your current health, reduce it by that damage, clamp your health to 0, and then set your health. And that's just that for now. Next I will show you the actual endurance and agility, but that's a bit more complicated at the moment, and I'll save that to the next video. But for now, you should have what you need to implement health, regeneration and stamina, get your character doing things, and have a bit of a HUD to play around with. Like, there's a lot more that I'm working on, like an inventory, but that's someone else's tutorial at the moment, and I'm waiting for them to finish it so I can dissect it and improve it in my own way if I need to. And these are a bit more for later. Right, but for now, learn a bit from this, and I'll see you in the next video.